God damn it. Let's see this bullshit. Receiving your content. Yeah, you better receive it. Johnny boy, you wanna you wanna hit me one more time with the receiving your content scream? Yeah, you better receive it. Johnny boy, you wanna you wanna hit me one more time with the receiving your content scream? Yeah, you better receive it. Yeah, there we go. Great. So John, welcome to the inaugural Crow's Nest broadcast, a subsidiary of Velveeta Boys, subsidiary of Hard R Productions / subsidiary of GayThugDating.com, today's sponsor. How's shit, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Working a lot.
Tell me about your job.
Oh, my job. I make burgers all day.
Yeah, for Burger King.
No, for Mickey D's.
Mickey Dicks.
Jobs. Old Ronald.
Old Tricky Ronald and his candy cane dick.
He's a cocksucker. It's funny though.
Did they inject the burgers with hormone at the farm or in the store?
Gotta be at the farm. When they get there, they just look like normal burgers to me. It's not. I'll have to say, you know, it's like everything I was told about McDonald's for the most part's not true. It's like the reverse, if that makes sense.
How so?
Like 99% of the food that I make there, I'm like, yeah, this isn't terrible food. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's too salted. You know what I mean? There's way too much sodium in it.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, but it's not like it's low-tier meat. You know what I mean? I've been around I've gone to obviously very nice restaurants. I cook a lot for myself, so I know the difference between a good product and a bad product. Product's not terrible. It's really not. It's not anything that I'd pay a large price for, but it's not anything terrible either. And obviously, if you get someone who does things correctly, the part that I was convinced of is that it was going to be really easy. But then, like, because you have to deal with so many fucking idiots, it makes it far more difficult than like a physical labor job. Because I've worked construction before, you know, I did 12-hour, you know what I mean, work days, digging holes all day. And it was a lot easier, for sure.
Fair enough. I used to work fast food myself. I don't know if warehouse jobs count as physical labor, but I worked 10-hour days in an Amazon warehouse, and that shit was terrible.
Boxes and shit. Yeah, no, that's definitely physical labor. I'd count that for sure.
You see, the work itself wasn't bad, and the hours were really good, but the company itself was always terrible. Like, good example, they just did their big hashtag fight for 15 kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? So they went from starting wage was like $12.25, $12.50 when I got in, which was like 3 years ago. And just recently, they started giving out 15 an hour, which is like, ooh, crazy. That's great, right?
Right.
Every 6 months when I started, you got a 25-cent raise. So like 6 months in, it's $12.75, then 13, then 13.25, so on. So I was with my shift differential on night shift, I was making about 14 an hour. But in addition to that, you got like a productivity bonus at the end of the month. So like if your building hit goal, you get an extra 300. And then they give you a stock option. So if you stayed in for 2 years, you get 2 stocks, which like Amazon stocks a lot right now.
Right.
But when they hit the $15 thing, when I got out in March of this year, and they just hit the 15 in September, and they wiped away everything except for the health insurance.
I've got a friend who's working at FedEx, and he was working there for about 2 weeks, and they basically offered him to be a manager almost immediately.
And yeah, FedEx is kind of a weird spot. A lot of people go to UPS instead because I don't know what it is.
It might have been FedEx. UPS. I can't remember which one. I'd have to ask. But basically, yeah, he's already a manager after working there for like 3 to 4 weeks max, and it's like, what the?
They're saying that like out of all the delivery companies, FedEx is like the weakest. When I was working at Amazon.
Yes.
Dude, no, USPS is doing really well, actually. Amazon kind of pumped some lifeblood back into them because their own delivery service, they're trying to get that off the ground, but, like, legally they can't use those drones that they made, so they're kind of, like, pigeonholed into using USPS.
Right. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I still can't get the United States Postal Service to deliver my mail correctly.
Yeah, you get a lot of shit sent back.
It just doesn't arrive. It's just, yeah, we don't know where it went. I'm like, yeah, don't
Speaking
know
of
where.
things being dead on arrival, Fallout 76. Haven't played it, have you?
Um, I haven't played it. It's the same engine as Fallout 4, so I think, you know, I think you can basically, if you've played Fallout 4, you can speak to the game mechanics of Fallout 76. You know what I'm saying? It's not like in Oblivion versus Skyrim where the game mechanics are completely different. I've honestly tried to steer clear of it for the most part, but I have definitely watched probably about 2 or 3 hours of people streaming it. Um, I think it just falls into the same pitfalls that we've seen recently, where it's a lot of microtransactions. They're just taking something that was a good working formula,
Do they
and
have microtransactions in there? Tell me it's all, it's got to be aesthetic stuff.
uh, yeah, it's definitely it's mostly cosmetic, but still like in an MMO style, you know what I mean? Like a multiplayer only style game, cosmetics is like basically the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear the loot system is like, it's so broken, right? To where the quests and the enemies just drop so much loot that the only reason that you would actually go around killing other players, as you can do, is if you're a real fucking dickhead. That's just how I've heard it described. But one of the big things is, aside from the typical bugginess that comes with a Bethesda game, there's this problem that people are having. Apparently, there are no NPCs whatsoever, like that you can get quests from or talk to, aside from robots.
You're just running around by yourself at all times.
Yeah, like people. The biggest complaint outside of like the combat and the bugs that
Well,
Bethesda never works
you
out.
shouldn't ever go into a Fallout game for the combat. For the most part, I'd say. I mean, I'm not saying the combat can't be fun. I'm just saying if you're looking for like fluid, dynamic combat system, it's not gonna be Fallout.
Oh,
You know,
definitely not. I mean, I think anybody who's played 3 and onward can pretty much attest to the whole like I've shot this guy and an endless amount of times in the head, and he's still kicking just because he's like out leveling me.
yeah, that's why I just play games like that. I just usually play on like the lowest two difficulties, just because if I shoot you in the head with an anti-material rifle, your head better blow the fuck up, and it better be spectacular.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
I just don't use armor in games like that, so that way, like I'm also weak as shit. So it just comes to me more like positioning, being able to get the shots off correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of Fallout games fall flat. Like in Skyrim, for instance, or Oblivion, if you shoot a guy from the sneak mode and he's got an arrow in him and he's like fucking off after the fact, you can kind of be like, oh, well, he's got an arrow in him. It's not necessarily fatal. But like, you shoot somebody in the fucking face and they're just like, never should have come here. It's like, motherfucker, please.
You're not supposed to be in here.
Yeah, right.
You're not supposed to be in here.
The typical
Final
like
warning.
shoot a dude in the dick and he's like, what was that?
Must have been my imagination.
It's like everybody's wearing a like. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Like Borderlands. Borderlands, you can get away with it because there's that shield mechanic. Like you assume that whatever shield dynamic is going on there absorbs some of the kinetic the damage. But in Fallout, it's just like I'm wearing fucking plastic composite plating or like a tire around my waist or some shit like that. It's not gonna stop a bullet, dude.
Chickens on my kneecap.
Yeah, right.
Whatever bullshit they fucking strap down to their body.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I used to really love Fallout games. I thought New Vegas was a great game.
I actually went back and replayed New Vegas within the last month, and it was just as enjoyable,
That's
if
what a
not
lot of
more
people are
enjoyable.
doing. They're saying that they're so tired of the new Fallout that they're just going back to New Vegas and they just want more New Vegas, which I can't disagree with.
Well, and that's the thing is, you put Skyrim on 30 different consoles, you know what I mean, and you re-release it and with fucking 80 different resolutions, you know what I mean? And
Oh, and the VR, of
it's just
course.
like, yeah, naturally, but you can't update the graphics for Fallout New Vegas. And I'm not even saying, and it wouldn't make it a better game necessarily. It'd still be the same game. It just looked nicer. And there's a market for that. I'm not saying there's not. It's just that, I think that is the point, is there is a market for that. So if you want to make the money and you want to make people happy, I don't think that I rarely think that things should be rebooted in HD for the most part, unless you're really overhauling something. Like you're like, we fucked up with this. I want to do it better, And I don't think that they often did. I don't think Bethesda's doing that. I don't think that they're saying, yeah, we fucked this up. Let's make it better. I think they're like, yeah, we're just gonna put some more fucking pixels in that bitch. Here you go, $60. It's like what?
Yeah, that's something that really killed the settlement feature for me in Fallout 4, because, like, I don't know if you tried using the building function, but you get shit where the ground is elevated ever so slightly. So you place, like, a generator on it, and none of
Load.
it's touching the ground at all.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, like I said, I played it for 6 hours, I think, and I just had to put it down. I was like, this is just a fucking mess. Like, this is just like I have to constantly listen to my fucking. Like, the other thing is like the dialogue options pissed me off because I'd be
It's
like,
like Mass
oh,
Effect.
I'm gonna be a nice guy. I'm gonna be a nice this response obviously is gonna be nice, and then my character just be an asshole. I'd be like, what the fuck? That's not what you know. That's not what you alluded to. You didn't allude to this as being a dick. You alluded
Yeah.
to that he just wasn't interested in doing the mission. He's like, fuck you, I'm not doing the mission, cocksucker. And it's like, what the fuck? That's not no.
Dude, I think somebody made an image macro where, like, the four responses are what they actually end up being throughout the game. And it's like A is yes, B is no but yes later, X is a joke, which is also no but yes later, and then Y is ask a question.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And I think, in New Vegas, especially with the the DLC, like the dialogue was just outstanding, absolutely outstanding. I mean, I just sit. Very very rarely will I in a game just sit and just fucking read through and make sure that I have every possible conversation I can with a person.
Oh yeah, I think Old
Mhm.
World Blues did that the
Oh,
best.
most definitely. I fucking sat and talked to a fucking toaster, and
The
every
toaster was good. Who is the doctor who had the dog? Klein.
yeah.
Yeah, but I had a buddy who had one of those old style meme Facebook pages, Dr. Klein, back when the pages were actually like, I don't know, they were like blogs basically before they got monetized and Facebook started collecting user data and throwing ads up and shit.
Yeah, all sites go downhill at the end because
It's really troubling.
the bigger things get, the harder it is to maintain that vision. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
original vision that inspired the rise of something. That's sort of the core fundamentals of a human being saying, "This is what I want to do for the world," and everyone's like, "That's fucking awesome." And then everyone sees that logo or that website or whatever, and they're like, "This is the awesome thing." And then over time, they're like, "All right, yeah, let's keep doing this, but we're gonna make a little more money, you know?
Yeah, it just
We're gonna make a little
spirals
more
out of
money."
control.
That's
One
like
good turn leads to another, that kind of thing.
that's like everyone's like, "Oh, it's free market, just go get something else." But it's like people, I will. I
Well,
don't know
the
if
the
it's
thing about the free
laziness.
market, there's never really a free market. We've never had a free market, especially now. So the whole like, oh, it's a free market, it's capitalism. It's not really capitalism. It's like capitalism if it was in a zoo for political ideologies. It lets it
Yeah,
they let him have a habitat, but he doesn't get out of the walls. You know?
yeah, because they want to keep things nice and safe.
Yeah, look how well that
Well,
worked out for the drug war.
yeah, and I mean, I could talk about that all day long,
You'd probably know a
honestly.
lot more than I would about it.
Well, it's like one of the counties my parents live in Indiana. They sold enough. painkillers in that county so that every man, woman, and child that lived in that county would have like 60 pills a day every day for an entire year. Within 1 year, they sold that many. And
They
it's
just
like,
came out with a
okay,
new
obviously,
opiate. Did you hear about that?
so not Suboxone.
It's 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 okay. So you know how fentanyl is like 10 times stronger than regular heroin or something like that.
Right.
So this stuff is
That's
actually 10 times more potent than fentanyl.
at that point. At that point, I don't think it's. At that point, I think it's just population control. At
Oh,
that point.
easily.
By the
Easily.
way, I forgot to ask, what are we actually? What is this being streamed on?
YouTube, as a matter of fact. I don't know if I ever sent you my YouTube channel,
You
but
did not.
it's basically the same as every username I've ever had. Uh, yeah, just Shark Bread, all one word. I have 30 subscribers. You're gonna have to do some digging to find me.
No, I found you immediately.
Oh shit. Well, damn. Don't
Yeah,
watch
it's
my
pretty
videos.
easy.
They're trash. I have to redo my. I'm gonna overhaul my channel and actually put decent content out after this because my I was recording everything through a Turtle Beach headset that had one working earphone. So everything, if you go back and watch all my videos, like I did all my editing in HitFilm, which is a free and terrible uh, video editing software, and so all my recorded vocal audio it pales in the volume comparison to the rest of like sound effects and music and whatever. So
Right.
you'd have to turn your shit all the way up and like press your ear against the speaker to hear me do my Bloodborne review.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything
If
came out
you
really crappy, and I stopped for a while because I was like, yeah, I'm getting all the depression of putting work into YouTube, but none of the satisfaction.
Well, I think we could I think we could definitely use YouTube as like a sort of a base for what a free market does because like when it comes to just what people want to see and what people want to click on, you know what I'm saying? Versus what good content actually is. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because I mean I fall victim to clickbait all the time, you know what I mean?
I think that's kind
But
of the
even
norm.
well, it's just human nature. I think that's the difficulty about the system is that you can just keep putting out shit, and if you make it sound good, people are gonna eat it up like it was a $60 steak, and people
Have you
like
seen the new trending page? Have you checked that out at all lately?
I stay basically away from that.
It is the
Yeah,
worst, most corporate, ad-friendly stuff. It's like everybody, dude. Every middle to upper class, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kid from the suburbs in the last year or so became Logan Paul.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really bad. You get kids who are like trying too hard to be lol random. Like, oh, we're gonna do a cooking show. Throws egg against fridge like they're fucking how to basic.
you've basically. Did you have you actually looked at the TikTok app?
Um,
Oh
let me
God,
put it this way: I've
whew.
seen, I my only interaction with the TikTok app is that Mia Khalifa edit with the cosplayer girl, who actually ended up being a girl. Surprisingly, everybody was saying it was a dude, which made my penis sad. But ended up being a female. And after that, I think I decided to stay away from it out of my own personal safety.
Well, it's like I can still every once in a while open up Facebook. My mom or my grandma messaged me, and I'll read that, and I'll look at the feed, just because it's right there. And it's not the most revolting thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's the typical, like, I'm thankful, in the Thanksgiving, I'm thankful for this, yada, 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 you know what I mean? Or like, I went on vacation, or like, my political opinion, this is something bad. Did you hear about this? And then just some made up bullshit, top 10 ways to lose belly fat. But it's like, it's the typical drivel that you would expect. It's not anything like outrageously where you're just watching and you're like, holy shit, just get this the fuck away from me. But my roommate downloaded the TikTok app and just hearing that shit in the background. It's just fucking. I just want to blow my brains out. It's just so bad. It's like they took every possible like Vine. There's funny things on Vine. I think that because so many mainstream people used Vine, that all like the internet, 4chan, Twitter users, you know what I mean? Like
It was a
the
hodgepodge
basically,
of internet culture. It's kind of like Twitter. Twitter currently is kind of like that, except they're very ban happy.
yeah. I don't think I've actually been banned on Twitter before.
I don't think I have either. I think I've created 100 different accounts on Twitter just because I usually get to a point, something will happen and I'll just immerse myself in it and it'll be really unhealthy because I work a job where I have a lot of free time occasionally, like, um, and this will segue into a great Facebook story. I'll just tell that right now. So I work with my dad at a used
Right.
car lot, and we sell a lot of stuff through like the Facebook Marketplace because it's used cars. And
Oh, dude, the
so,
Facebook marketplace, from what I hear, is absolutely massive.
oh, it's huge. It's probably the only thing they have going for them now. It's just Craigslist without the having it, it's Craigslist without paying $5 per ad. That's what it is.
Yeah. Craigslist is basically when I was in Indianapolis and wanted to sell, like, I'm like, I don't need these things. Like, I have this Beats speaker, the not the pill, but the original boombox that came out in 2011.
Uh huh.
It's worth like $350. Tried to sell because I'm like, I don't fucking need this. Like, this is stupid. Like, it's I mean, it's a great speaker. Quality is awesome. It's Bluetooth, also has an aux on it. But it was just robot after robot after robot after scam after scam. I mean, my phone was just getting blown the fuck up constantly with just bot replies. And it's like, is this what this has come to? Like, Jesus. It was bad. It was bad. But I think that people are just really just kind of accept whatever's thrown at them. Like if Apple came out and they're like, yeah, we invented slavery. You know what I mean? They could say some shit like that. They're like, yeah, we invented slavery and we fucking we did the Holocaust. And then people be like, ah, yeah, but I still want that iPhone. You know what I mean?
It's a status symbol, of course. Um, I always thought it was funny. One of my favorite things to do when I worked at Amazon was I worked with, because it was a tech company and particularly in the Northeast. Uh, everybody, the company rule was like, if you openly talk about liberal values, like, I don't mean liberal, but I mean like left. If you talk about like left values, then you're on fast track to be like management or supervisor. And then uh, when Trump was running, there was a memo that got sent out to supervisors and managers that one of my supervisors, who ended up being conservative and talking nonstop about it, uh, he told everyone about it. And it was basically like, if you support any of his policies, um, or if you're voting for him, keep it under your hat or you're out of here. That's basically what it was. And once that happened, I went to my manager, who was above him, and I said, "Hey, man, look, I'm not trying to be divisive here, but this is generally what I believe, and this is who I'm voting for. And should I be worried about my job? Like, are people going to stalk me on Facebook and then kick me off?" And his reaction in so many words was, "Well, maybe if you weren't posting Nazi propaganda." And it's like, there's such a hardline bias in tech industries in general, and I think that if you actually go back and look at all the shit that's happened in like the last 2 years, you can see it.
Well, that's what really upsets me about centrists is that, you being someone who's not on one side or the other necessarily, you should understand more than anyone that people just have different opinions due to their background. You know what I mean? If I grew up in the Middle East, predominantly Islamic area, I'd probably be Muslim. You know what I mean? That's just a fact. Like, that's just how it is. I'd have their value system. It's not that, you know, one person has a better idea. Because I went to a small Lutheran high school, private institution in the Midwest, and they believed that the Earth was 6,000 years old, right?
Yeah.
All of them, just 100%. First day of class,
like hardline creationism.
Like full-on creationist. The first day of class, in English, we're like, okay, first thing we're gonna cover is creation stories, and then they're like, oh, like creationism, and I was like, who the fuck believes in that shit? That's fucking idiots. Like that's dumb as hell. And then they just looked at me, and they're like, John, we believe in creationism. And I'm like, fuck.
God damn it!
I didn't know. But like, they'd pray over me and tell me there's demons and inside me and shit. And
Did they
kinda
beat
got
you with a
ostracized.
ruler trying to exercise you?
Oh, I wish. Jesus Christ.
That's hot.
At least I had gotten off.
That's
No.
why Catholic schoolgirls are all fucked up, because they get thrown into BDSM culture at such a young age.
I honestly think Catholicism and BDSM are basically just two sides of the same coin.
Well, Catholicism's fucked. Like
it's really
Lutherans
bad.
are there's 100 different kinds of Protestant, and my grandmother was Lutheran, and she was like, she wasn't stupid, like she understood that there's a lot more going on than creationism and what have you. She wasn't like pray the gay away, nothing like that.
I'll pray for you.
She wasn't like that. She was I only ever had one discussion about religion with her, because she knew I wasn't like Christian necessarily speaking. She was just like, I was sitting at her house, and she was a drinker. She was a hard drinker. She would have a pitcher of chocolate milk, and she'd dump like a whole handle of vodka into it, and she'd just like suck that down over the course of a few days. And unsurprisingly, she went blind at like 50. But she's sitting there drunk as shit. She's just like, you ever think about getting baptized? And I'm like, why? Because I didn't even know what it was. I was like 10, and I've been to church like once when I was 5.
You ever think about getting baptized, boy?
She grew up in Mass, so her Christian beliefs were kind of supplemented with like typical kind of liberal. When I say liberal, I mean like 70s style liberalism. So she was anti-Bush, anti-Iraq, anti-Afghanistan. Very smart lady, and she just kind of used Christianity to my family. Just kind of ended up being like a moral compass, if anything.
Right.
But then I have cousins who are Catholic on my mom's side. That was my dad's mom, and so on my mom's side.
Yeah, I went to a Catholic college. That was fun.
Yeah.
I signed up for a course. You had to take religious courses. And I took the intro one, and they're like, this is the next one. I show up the first day. Every single person in there is in the religious scholarship program or is training to be a priest. And I'm like, guys, I think you sent me to the wrong fucking class. Turns out I was in some advanced level Catholic studies of the historical figures of Catholicism. I'm like, who the fuck are these people? None of these people are Jesus. All right. And they're like, yeah, we really need to listen to what this guy says on marriage. And then I'm reading about him, and he like was like, fucking can't wait the 2 years to fuck this 12-year-old. So I'm going to go get another fucking, gonna go get a mistress real quick. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not listening to this guy. Okay. Why the fuck would anyone listen to this guy?
I think my favorite religious experience was my sister graduated from boot camp in the Air Force. And my whole family went down there to like see her graduate and all that. And when you're in basic, apparently in any branch of the military, if you're in basic, you have 2 options for your Sunday. You can attend a religious service, or you can do extra drill, like push-ups and whatever. So of course everybody opts into religious shit. So her graduation happened to fall on a Sunday, and she's like, hey, church starts in 10 minutes. Do you guys want to go to my church with me? And I'm like, okay. So we're sitting there, and the dude's like popping off, preacher man. He's all right. He's going through the whole like, you gotta love thy neighbor and not fuck dogs and that whole thing. And then it hit this like really.
There's no Christians in Canada anymore.
No, they're all Chinese or Muslim. It's kind of funny. But
well, that and they fuck dogs.
They do fuck dogs. It's mostly Newfoundland, and Quebec, from what I hear. But long story short, so this guy has like this calendar on a slideshow. You know how like churches are all high tech now and they have like laser light shows and PowerPoints and stuff. So the
Right.
chaplain, I guess you would call him, he gets to this like sin calendar where every day is a different sin, and at the end of the month you go to hell. And like the second to last one, or like the 31st day, was he hit this high note and he's popping off. He's like, now, I hope all you families are ready to talk about the gays, because if your child is gay, they shouldn't be in the military, and they're going straight to hell. And there's this black family with like a burly daughter. She was like a man, dude. She had muscle, and everybody just collectively gets up and walks out. And my sister leans over and she's like,
Oh.
that's the one lesbian in my platoon, or whatever the fuck. I was like, oh, Jesus. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently
Well,
there are a lot of events like that.
I had to go to chapel every like Wednesday at my high school, and I just fucking hide in the bathroom because we just had to stand for the longest time, and then people would like get up and they just close their eyes and start like wafting back and forth, having fucking seizures and shit. And I'm like, man, I'm just gonna go in the shitter. This is getting fucking weird. I'm gonna be honest with you.
They did that too.
But I guess my main point was none of those people were stupid necessarily, right? Like some of those people were highly intelligent. Like some of those people got 33s on their ACT. It was a college prep school, right?
Yeah.
So highly intelligent people, but they still had this. Well, because I used to think, okay, I'm intelligent, right? That's what the standardized test and everything told me. Hey, you're smarter than most people. So then I was like, okay, if I'm smarter than most people, then most of the conclusions that I come to are going to have a better chance of being correct, right? My view of reality is going to, for the most part, drastically be more realistic. You know what I mean? And I just thought all these things. But then I realized that, like, it doesn't matter how smart you are. What matters is the content that is being put, basically the stimulus you're receiving is what makes that up. So you can be Albert Einstein and you can think that dinosaurs were brought from the devil to convince you not to believe in God. And that has, in the last 3 months, has really shaped my political views, because I don't look at people who have a different opinion than me and think, oh, you're just a fucking idiot. Like, when people are like, Mexicans taking our damn jobs. And I'm like, you want to work that job? And they're like, well, no. Like, who they taking the job from? Billy who wants to mow yards? Billy's playing Red Dead right now. He doesn't want to mow yards. He wants to sit in his house and play Red Dead. He doesn't want to do that, okay? That's not how that. Oh, you want to go shovel shit for 8 hours? No. You want to sit in an air-conditioned office? Yeah. You think someone who doesn't speak English is doing that? No.
Well, see, my thing with that,
they're stupid, but they're not. They just have this. Anyone can literally believe anything. Doesn't matter how smart you are. There are people who literally can probably have an IQ of 60 that can have every single belief that I have, and that doesn't make me right. That doesn't make me wrong. That doesn't make them right. That doesn't make them wrong. It's just, if someone tells them something and everyone around them tells them, hey, moon's made of fucking cheese, then guess what they're gonna believe? The moon's made of fucking cheese.
There are people who think that the moon is actually Satan, and he's positioning himself between us and the real moon.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
I mean, that's what everyone that I know told me. So
I'm pretty sure the moon is actually Satan. I could. Jamie, you looked that up? Wow, did you know that? Wow.
Well, then you get people who are like, they're so. The best way to put it in my mind is like they're so far up their own ass that they see this shit going on and they're like, I'm smarter than everyone. If everyone believes Christianity and I'm smarter than everyone, then I should be a Luciferian, because then I'm right, because I'm smarter. And then you get like the edgy kids, like you ever see that video of the Satanists who are defending the
that one dude with the neck beard and the fedora?
I think he was just there to ride his fame out, but I think the rest of the people there were pretty spot on. Like the fat girl in the prayed up wedding dress. and she's got like the black lipstick and the fucking heavy eyeliner. She looks like a fucking raccoon, and she's just sitting there looking disgusted because she is disgusting. And it's like, you fucking,
Well, it's
who are
like
you supposed to be? Like, what value do you contribute aside from like making witchy posts on Instagram talking about big is beautiful or some shit?
I just think it's very hard for people to integrate their belief system into their lifestyle because they separate the two so greatly. Like you look up pagan on YouTube and it's just gonna be a bunch of fucking people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but at least I understand that, right? When I say, yeah, that's what I lean towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like statistically, crime's more likely to happen on a full moon. Like that's something you should take note of. You know what I mean? People act differently when the moon's full. Like that's why like holidays are, pretty much all made up. But if you're like, hey, look, the moon's really fucking big right now, that's kind of important. It's like, yeah, that is.
Well, people disregard that, and but the moon affects the tides, and people are like, what, 90 something percent water, something like that. Of course, it affects us. You'd be stupid to think that it doesn't have any remote bearing on human activity.
That's why the moon's the devil.
Oh shit,
Right.
dude! Oh shit!
Yep.
It's full circle.
Full circle. It just came around.
God damn. What was I going to talk about Facebook before? Oh yeah. So, anyways, my dad leaves Facebook open all the time because we sell shit through Marketplace, and I just happened to walk into the office while he was off like getting car parts or something, and I look over, and his buddy sends him this picture, and it's captioned Black Friday, and it's two huge, like morbidly obese black women making out in a shower. It's fucking ridiculous. So I'm looking at that, and then I notice that my dad, who's on his phone, uh, like off at fucking AutoZone or wherever he is, he's taking that picture and he's sending it to a bunch of people. It's like, Jesus.
I love the way that the older people interact online. I think it's lit.
Oh, it's like a soap opera in a way. You get to like hang out and what's that group on Facebook? Haha, please show to Jim. You ever see
I
that?
wouldn't. No.
It's pretty much just it's a best of boomer memes.
Boomer memes are, man.
Like
I like.
the Minions captions.
Oh Jesus Christ! I'm about to walk away.
Yeah, man. I have a lot of mutual friends through Facebook that are like older people. They're generally friends of my stepmother's my step grandma, I guess you could say. And dude,
Mm-hmm.
you would think that these people grew up in like barns wearing flannel by candlelight. The shit that they post.
Yeah, it's that's and again, like you look at the content that they put out, and you're like, these people are all retarded. Like they just don't. They're not functioning. You know what I mean?
Well, you
That's
know
why I
that
like the
somebody's out there
NPC.
with like paint or something making these things, and they think it's the biggest fucking gag in the world.
That's why like again I go back to that, like I used to look at that and I'm like, that person's stupid, like the NPC meme. Like I think it's funny just because it pisses people off, but I do think that it's not a valid argument, you know what I mean?
Did you say the amputee meme?
Or the NPC,
Oh,
where
NPC. Yeah.
anytime anyone says something that someone else has already said, hey, you're an NPC. It's like, motherfucker, you're posting a meme, which means that someone already else has posted it, which means you're doing the same thing. Like it's just an endless cycle. We all fucking copy each other. That's how humans work. Like no one's original. Get the fuck over it. Originality is dead. Like
You know what a
once,
fractal is, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that like people kind of end up like fractals in a lot of ways. Like definitely in a spiritual sense. I think that yeah, this is just my guess at an afterlife, but I think that's probably where Hindu reincarnation came from. Is like this idea of a fractal. But I think
Right.
that culture kind of follows like a fractalization pattern, and like deep fried memes. I hate deep fried memes are proof of Hindu uh, of reincarnation. But I think that like the deep fried memes where you take a meme and it just deteriorates over and over and over again, so you're basically just left with like grainy bullshit and a Technicolor rainbow with some bass playing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what you end up with all these regurgitated political points. Um, and I think that people are catching on to that, which I don't know what that means in a large scale sense, but I do know that it's going to lead to like some mass tribalization, which it already has. If you're
Oh
paying
my God, I
attention,
think a tribalization, everyone is completely tribal in all aspects, all senses, all walks of life. It's 100% that. And it's not even that people disagree anymore. It's that people have put this almost badge of who they are politically, religiously, etc.
hmm
And so, like, hell, you could agree with 99.9% of what someone says, but if the badge that they're wearing doesn't match your badge, immediately it's just like you're just freaked the fuck out, and it's like, yo, it's not that big of a deal, man. Like you just got to chill the fuck out, like you know.
and it's become so there's like this fracturing of all the different tribes now, where like before, I guess when I was growing up, it would be like you're right or you're left, and people just kind of adhered to that because there was no other, unless you were like paying a certain amount a month for a fucking scientific journal or National Geographic or whatever.
You
Really,
just
you just got your shit through the
give it
news,
God.
and so your views are either like I align myself completely with this political party or I align myself completely with that political party. And I'm not saying that's how everybody was, but I think that's how the majority of people went. Um, like compared to our standards today, if you were right wing when I was a kid as an adult, you would basically like just regurgitate, I am pro war, I am anti abortion, I am anti gay. And you just kind of like you were a bumper sticker, but now the bumper stickers are like Twitter bios, and instead of like I'm anti-abortion and pro-Christian, it's trans inclusionary, intersectional Muslim feminist, and it's like there's a whole checklist of shit that you have, and it's on the right too. It's on the right too.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
everywhere.
I like that's why like I just like to separate myself, but that doesn't. I think the issue with separating yourself is that it's very easy to just start sniffing your own farts. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Just
easily.
being like, oh, I'm the fucking ooh, look at me. I'm outside of it. And even within that, even once you realize not to do that, now you're like, oh, but I've realized not to do that, which really means now truly I am the greatest. I haven't fallen into the pitfalls of tribalism, and I haven't fallen into the pitfalls of looking down on those people. Now I really am God.
So basically, what you're saying is once you rise above tribalism, you become Elliot Rogers.
Become what?
Elliot Rogers. He was the incel god. He
Yeah,
showed up at
basic.
UCLA. I'm pretty sure.
Well, but what happens is that like narcissism is almost impossible to escape in a sense.
Oh,
Just
especially
like
now.
because it doesn't like let's say that you believe, let's say you're a leftist, right? And then automatically everything that comes from that you think, okay, conservatives are this and this, and I'm this and this, and the things that I am are better, so automatically I'm better than them, and it just that's innate. If you're conservative, you liberals are this and this, they're idiots, they're liberal media, they're NPCs, etc. And basically you just get this self not self-fulfillment, but like this almost, you just blow yourself up with fucking hot air.
You
And if you,
reaffirm yourself, and
yeah,
then
you just constantly reaffirm yourself, and even if you aren't tribalistic, you still, it's almost as if you're still doing it, you can't escape it no matter what you do. It's just like let's think of a famous person donates to a charity, right?
yeah.
There's two ways to look at it: wow, they're a great person, or yeah, they're just doing it because they're a famous person and they want to look good, right? And you never will ever know if it's because they actually want to look good or not, right? And then even if it, like, let's say I was filthy rich and I donated to people because, I mean, what I deep down truly know it's because I wanted to help people, Or is it because, hey, I like looking like a good person? Who doesn't like looking like a good person? Who can say, yeah, I want to be a shitty person? I mean, there's some out there, don't get me wrong, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole. So it's almost as if the people don't do good things for the sake of doing good things. They do good things because they want to look like someone who does good things, if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree. Um, my buddy's asking me where he can listen to this bullshit. Um, See, my thing with that is if there's no escaping, this tribal echo chamber that everybody just kind of gets subjected to, and isolation from that system leads to like it's like you're
Narcissism?
saying you keep reaffirming yourself,
Yeah,
but
constantly, man.
when you're in this echo chamber and you're reaffirming yourself and you don't really have anything to like play off of, that's when you hit that level of social anxiety where you walk around mightier than thou, and
Mm-hmm.
inevitably, like from the moment you leave your door, if you're like that dude who walks around public businesses or like fucking restaurants, um, and like you're waiting in line and you fucking you like tap the dude next to you with your elbow and you're like, these fucking illegals, huh? Or some shit like that, you're opening yourself up to get like just
Blasted.
philosophically DDT'd in the middle of a fucking Burger King. And then when that happens, you're not going to think like, oh wow, maybe I shouldn't fucking walk around and act like I'm smarter than everyone. You're gonna get hit with this like sudden anxiety. You're gonna be freaking the fuck out and like have a small lapse in judgment or like you're gonna basically just have a breakdown a little bit, and you're either gonna like freak out on this guy or you're gonna feel really stupid. But then you're gonna reaffirm your own confidence, your own self esteem with, well, the fucking, like you were saying, the NPCs or whatever, and that's gonna.
It's just that
Oh,
NPC
good.
shit, saying that same shit over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
reaffirming has become so easy because like that's all I can do anymore. It's just like I look at the reality that I live in, and I'm like, there's no way for me to know if any of the beliefs that I truly hold are based at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way for me to tell anymore because if you just look at the general vibe, is that everyone on one side said everyone else. So just take everyone at their word, right? Let's just take everyone at their word. So if you take the left at their word, basically all big businesses, they're all fucking evil and terrible, right? And I'm not saying they're wrong. You know what I mean? All corporate people, all the conservative news media outlets, they just want to kill all the minorities and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And everyone just wants to halt progress. And then if you look at the right, okay, they're fucking insane. God wants to kill them. God hates them. Just some crazy shit. But if you just take everyone at their base word, basically everyone's just fucked, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what is real. There's just so many, uh, almost not hypocrite. Yeah, I'd say hypocritical beliefs that there's no way to there's no rock to steady yourself and be like, okay, this is the middle ground, right? Because there in a world where everything's gray and nothing is real, there is no middle ground. There is no rock. There is no hard place. It's just all fucked. So you have to constantly be able to either you have to constantly reaffirm yourself because once you lose grasp on that tribalism, you have nothing left.
Oh yeah.
Nothing left.
Well, I think that's how this whole like I think when 4chan got involved in the 2016 election, primarily poll, the politically incorrect board. Um, you saw like a real upswing in the Jewish conspiracy, the JQ as they call it, and like, uh, you know, you have to look at this critically, even if all the stuff that they're saying is something like something that you want to hear, particularly as a young man living in a first world country. Especially, like I hate to say it, but especially if you're white, because there's all this like weird leftist rhetoric about white privilege and stuff. It's very easy to feel attacked, and when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, it's not you, man. It's a fucking global conspiracy cooked up by the Semites," but like, even if they say something that you want to hear, you have to take a step back and be like, okay, I'm getting this off of 4chan, where unfortunately the majority of the people who are surfing this website spend the
Are either
majority of their
children
time.
or CIA agents.
CIA agents. I'm sure CIA has like a hard, fast presence on that board.
Lot of children right now, in my opinion. There's a lot of young people on 4chan because it's become 4chan used to be a website where it wasn't. It was the. I mean, it was 4chan people, right? You know what I'm saying? 4chan was 4chan. You know, the people didn't really that were not 4chaners didn't get on 4chan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
People would just sit and not post for a year before they decided to become a part of the community, kind of thing.
And
now
even
it's
then,
just
you get like smacked down the minute you say something stupid.
Yeah, and everyone just rushed to it because that's where all the drama was, and that's what people feed off of. So now the community is not the community it was even a year ago. It's not the community it was 5 years ago, and it's certainly not the community it was 10 years ago. Jesus Christ!
Oh, all the fucking otaku dudes living in their basements, like, oh, it's just Futaba channel, but English.
But I think it comes down to escapism. Really, I think that the tribalism is a form of escapism, man.
Well, it's LARPing. It's easily LARPing. In a lot of cases,
it's just as pathetic on both sides. Most definitely, just as pathetic. Because I mean, there haven't been times where they're like, "Oh, there's a big rally and people are blocking the streets," and I'm like, "Oh, if someone fucking came up to my car and started pounding on the window, I'd beat the shit out of them, right?"
Yeah.
Like who? Like that's an instinct. You know what I mean? Anyone, left, right, or otherwise, if someone like with a different opinion than me aggresses on me, now it's like it's this excuse to be violent. You know what I mean?
Easily.
That's what they're doing, and it's very easy to fall into that. I've never acted on it for sure, but it's like with this apocalypse shit that everyone likes to push too. I mean, when I was 15, oh, dude, zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean?
Like, oh, that shit is so fucking tired.
It's a rabbit hole down that, man, and just because it's. I think what it proves though is that people are unhappy with this way that the current system is at any level virtually because they feel like they're stuck in this area of an unsatisfactory life and they'll never truly be free. They'll always be tied down by the constraints that have been basically constructed around them generations before that they didn't agree to, that they feel like they have no say in changing. Voting just doesn't matter. And if it does, then there's enough stupid people where it doesn't matter.
Right.
And even if everyone's smart, like I said before, it doesn't matter because even if they are highly intelligent, they're just going to repeat what everyone before them said because that's all they know. And even if everyone today understood completely, okay, like right now, let's just say the government's like, yeah, voting's not real. It's all just been a fucking sham. What are you going to do?
There's a really good author. There's a really good author by the name of Jack Donovan who writes about this kind of thing. He's actually a pro-tribalist, but not in like a political fashion. His view on
more life, like in a like grouping wise tribe.
Yeah, so his philosophy falls into this like it focuses heavily on masculinity, and what he basically says is like, there are 4 virtues that you kind of need to, as a man, align yourself with if you want to have like a productive lifestyle, and that's I believe it's honor, which is just being a decent dude and not going back on your word and being like a scummy fuck. Like if you say you're gonna show up to somebody's birthday party at 6 o'clock, you should probably be there at 6 o'clock instead of like sitting in your bed fucking on the phone. Hey man, sorry, I jacked off too long, I can't make it. And then he gets into like pick up a skill or something and provide value. And he's got a couple books out that follow that generally, and he falls into line with this group called the Wolves of Vinland. And they themselves are basically a black metal themed biking club that they practice jujitsu. They do like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a real trip, man. They live out in a piece of land that they crowdfunded called Ulfheim, which is I forget the language it's based
Are
out
they
of.
just LARPing? They're
Huh?
just LARPing? They're just LARPing.
Yeah, they're LARPing, but it's like productive LARPing. They sell
That's
clothes.
how it always starts.
They sell. It is right.
So they're like LARPing Viking Amish.
They're not really Viking Amish. I think that I've researched a lot into them, and I was actually kind of involved with this like life reform program that they put out a couple of years ago. Not so much anymore because I kind of had a falling out with the guys I was doing it with. But I would say that it's largely a positive system that they put forward. It's not really even a system. It's basically just like, hey, don't be a douchebag, don't be a fucking idiot, and don't be lazy. And I like what they do, but at the same time, I met a lot of shitty people through that. Like
Right.
one time, my buddies and I, we met up with this couple that were supposedly doing this thing, and they were just like, I don't know what the problem was, but they showed up to my buddy's house and they brought some liquor, and we were all drinking
Jesus.
a little bit.
That's where it goes. You never want to get too drunk the first time you meet a group of people for a political ideology thing.
It wasn't even. It's not a political ideology. It's a. It's
Social.
basically. It's a social ideology where basically you try to move away from the modernity aspect of society and like, just get out and go hiking and meet new people. It's basically a hey, get the fuck off your computer kind of thing. Which I think a lot of people do need, honestly. But where was I going with all this? Because I wanted to make. Oh, so going
That you
back.
want to RP God of War? I think. By the way, how's this mic sound? Pretty good?
Pretty good. I think your mouth is like right on top of it because I'm getting a little bit
Yeah,
of
it is.
distortion. That's good. That's good.
Okay, right here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is it very sexy?
Yes, it's very good
Okay,
audio
good,
quality.
good,
I'm gonna
good.
pray.
Very
But
good.
the thing
Continue.
I wanted to get into with like the political board on 4chan was the the whole like, yeah, there's a conspiracy against you because you're a young white man or whatever, collapsing the West, etc. Is it gives you an out to not try, because you basically throw your hands up and say, well, the system's already rigged. Like
Why even
people
try?
people with like mental problems are like, I'm not going to go to therapy because therapy is a Jewish trick. I'm not going to invest in the stock market
Ooh.
because the stock market's a Jewish trick. I'm not going to I don't know. I'm not going to eat kale or drink milk because kale and milk are a Jewish trick.
Milk is a Jewish trick, right?
Dude, seriously, like
No,
it,
I know it gets that deep.
yeah, it's everything that has ever been. It's almost like an inverse of the what's that thing that college kids like to say? Everything's a social construct, so it doesn't matter. It's
Right,
literally
right.
just like it's a inverted form of that, and it's so much the opposite of it that it becomes it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's wrong saying that everything's a social construct, but
Yeah, that doesn't make it lack value though, just because you call something a
no,
social
most definitely.
construct.
Yeah, it was constructed for, a reason to some degree. Like that's why things are fucked, is because like human beings, as terrible as this is to say, we work best when hurted to some degree. It's disgusting, but if every single person's voice was 100% equal in every way, shape, and form possible, it'd be complete chaos.
I agree.
And power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you have this fucked up almost where everyone wants to have their voice heard, but once they finally get the chance to have power, they're so far gone from what they originally intended that it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, like that's how you get the it's like you were saying before, how things start off with a good idea and then they get blown out of proportion. Like the quote unquote American experiment, where you have this country that initially has all these freedoms and rights, and I'm not going to pretend that a lot of that didn't have to do with like this whole continent that was just ready to be exploited and explored and settled.
Yeah.
But you know, you look at America now compared to what it started out as, and it's almost like it's comical how not to reiterate a fucking boomer meme.
Bastardized.
It's been bastardized. It's been bastardized and manipulated, and all the people who uphold these settlers and these colonists who like killed a boat full of British soldiers and threw the tea over the fucking into the harbor. You know, no taxation without representation, and now we have like we have media corporations talking about how great it is that there's like demographic displacement and saying that like the popular vote should matter and that we should just fuck out the whole rest of the country for California and New York. And it's just it's a caricature of
Like
itself.
14% of people think the Earth, no, the sun and the moon are the same thing, and like a fourth of people think the sun revolves around the Earth. I just don't think that the popular vote is. I just don't. I don't see. But I think the other issue is I don't have an answer for it necessarily at the same time because I don't have the full picture on how things are really running. It's very. I mean, it would be impossible for me to come up with a legitimate answer for any governmental structure because the truth is, as an American citizen, you have a limited amount of data on what is truly going on. You know what I mean? Unless you take it completely at face value. And then even if you took something at completely face value, you have to know that there's people that are corrupt. You know what I mean? So even if you do have this system, this I guess theoretical system that you've come up with, people are just going to destroy it in every way, shape, and form. So,
well, I think that is why, you know, with all the talk of tribalism, I think that tribalism is necessary to an extent, you know, and the best.
Well, yeah, it's ingrained in us.
It's totally ingrained in us, and I think it's a little bigger than the typical answer for it's like, oh well, you know, you have a inborn preference for people who are like you. Yes, that's true. But you look at historically, you look at these big empires that you know they overreach, they are infiltrated and invaded, and they collapse because the people who do the invading basically get hired by their so-called conquerors. It's the story of Rome, you know. Everything comes back to Rome. They conquered a bunch of tribes in Northern Europe.
Rome is basically the Rome is the first real civilization. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all the pitfalls that Rome falls into, all civilizations will end up falling into.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think we're at the endgame stage where when Rome conquered the northern tribes and they said, okay, well, now that you're conquered, you guys have to guard our city walls and shit. And like the auxiliary system, when your tribe or whatever was conquered, you had two choices basically.
Was Rome Christian at that point when they conquered the what did they call those people?
The Germanic tribes. I forgot what
there
they
was
called
a specific term. I think it might have been derogatory. It was
they called them barbers, which is the root word for barbarian. But what ended up happening was I think it was the Goths or the Visigoths were conquered.
Goths, what I'm thinking of.
Goths, yeah. And the way the Roman military was set up was you have free citizens who make up like the backbone, I guess, of the military officers,
right?
The elite troops and what have you. And then you have auxiliaries, and auxiliaries had to perform military service for I think it was 10 years or 5 years, some span of time. It was between 5 and 10 years, I believe. And once your shit was up, you were allowed to be a citizen. You were considered a Roman. So all these people basically become the Roman military. They become guards and farmers. They basically comprise the entire nation. And then it all comes falling apart because they end up destroying Rome. Because first off, they have no allegiance to it. They aren't Romans. They were conquered by Rome, so they might as well have an inborn hatred for it. And then they see all these like fat, lazy do-nothings, aside from maybe like a couple of farmers who are telling them what to do. Meanwhile, they have everything in the palm of their hands to take power. And that's how you get into the Dark Ages and what have you.
And even look at the construct of the Dark Ages. I mean, Dark Ages used to be when, you know, I was a child, was a legitimate period in time where science basically had halted, etc. And now it's like, no, none of that was true. Science kept going on. People still made discoveries all around the world, yada, yada, yada. It's just more due to the plague, you know what I mean? Things like that of that nature. And even looking at the plague, you know that there's a lot of rhetoric out there that the Catholic Church had no role to play in that at all.
Really?
Like, yeah, well, I mean, you know, the Pope that was in power during the plague had actually said that cats were cohorts of Satan, right? And wanted people to round up and kill cats. Now, bubonic plague can spread in a variety of ways, sure, but the main source of the spreading was rats. Now, of course, the cats would have died too, but they were less susceptible to it. And I think a higher cat population, you can't say it wouldn't have made an impact at all. It obviously would have. But you know, now the rhetoric, if you'll see literal people funding studies to prove that that's not true. And it's just like, what is true? What really happened? You don't know unless you're there. And even if you are there, you don't know what happens anymore. I think, and I such a fucking beaten to death horse. And I almost hate saying it out loud, but if you look at Gamergate, I just even saying it's just, even the people that were day one people that were a part of it and aware of what was going on, they're like, yeah, I don't even know what the fuck is going on anymore, man. It just got so fucking convoluted, and so many people on both sides of it ended up being massive pieces of shit.
Oh yeah.
And that is the downfall of tribalism. You have people, and I'm not going to name any names. Let's not get anything too intense started here. But it definitely,
two of my viewers.
Oh yeah, well, one of them's me, so.
I know one of them's me, so.
But on the subject of it, you had people on both sides that were massive pieces of shit that really didn't care about one side or the other, and so I the viewpoint on the pro side was that, you know, okay, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys, and the view on the other side was we're the good guys, we're the bad guys. So when someone who was a quote-unquote bad guy was from your party or area, their actions were absolutely silenced in every way, shape, or form. Now, that's not taking into account the side that the media takes or the side that the general public takes or the narrative. I'm just saying, as far as like people on both sides were just trash. And so because of that, it's very murky and very hard for anyone 20 years down the road to look at that and say, yeah, this is what happened. You know what I mean?
Well, isn't that just the way that things always seem to go? Any war?
Yeah, it seems like scandal. It, but that's the difficulty behind it is, you know, there's these accepted truths of society, like meme example. Here we go, 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Everyone I talk to, the majority of people, I'd say the vast majority, because I talk to a lot of people. Conversations, one of the I think the joys of being a human being is the ability to converse and to speak and to socialize. So the majority of people that I speak to, and it's a vast dichotomy. It's not like I'm only talking to a select percentage, because I just like hearing if someone's weird, if someone looks like they agree with nothing that I have to say, I will specifically talk to them, because I am absolutely fascinated by how people form their viewpoint of their reality. Basically, everyone just says, yeah, no, there was some shit going on there. Yeah. And they don't even know about half of it. Like they're not aware of like shit like Building 7. They're not aware like the whole passport thing where like people's passports were found, but those people were alive. Or like the plane wreckage didn't match any other plane wreckage, or they buried all the evidence on like the Pentagon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not aware of any of that. They're just like, yeah, no, that's some bullshit happened for sure. And it's just like a generally accepted thing. But like at the same time, people don't want to admit. It's weird. It's so weird to me because like people are on one hand will go and say, "Yep, government's corrupt.
But they
They're
don't
all
want to
watching us."
acknowledge anything that like might suggest that.
But then when something happens, they're like, "Nah, that's not happening. That's crazy." I'm like, motherfucker, you just said that this was all a basic some bullshit system. So it gets murky. It gets very murky, and I think people just they do basically what I think South Park on the whole Red Dead thing. Have you seen?
I've seen. I only saw like 1 5-minute clip of it where the.
From what I understand,
Oh, go ahead.
Man Bear Pig just starts fucking everything up, and everyone's like, I can't do anything about it. And they're not wrong, but they are wrong. It's like global warming. I can't fix that, man. I'm one person. I can't fit. And whether you support or deny it, it doesn't matter. Like, you shouldn't pollute the environment, right? Like, I think that we can all agree with that.
Oh yeah,
I don't think
especially with the focus that it. There's been a lot of focus on the plastics coming out of Southeast Asia and India lately, and it's like the videos that I see are fucking horrendous.
Oh yeah, well then you look at let's look at the recycling process and the heating up of those plastics and the chemicals that puts off. Like that's also not good for the environment, but recycling's supposed to be good for the environment. It's just there's no real way to do anything fucking good.
You know that they're saying
just
that
end up
the BPAs or the BAPAs, whatever you want to call them,
the old BAPAs,
those being released into the water supply and into like food and such through, you know, they're in every processed food container.
Right.
Every Poland Spring water bottle that you get at a gas station, every like orange juice from Tropicana has them, and they're saying that they cause the production of estrogens in the body, and so when you have a large amount of these in your body, they start to create hormone imbalances, and they suspect that that's what's leading to the increase in people with gender dysphoria and an increase in individuals who are homosexual.
Yeah, and I think that the issue is that like the term mental disorder has become a negative thing. And in my opinion, it's not at all. I have a mental disorder. You know what I mean?
Oh, me
I don't
as
think
well.
it's a negative thing. I think that it's just something where you say that the chemicals in the brain or the way the brain perceives itself as a brain is not lining up with what the average would be. And I know if people are watching, oh, what is normal? You know, okay, yeah, I agree. There is no normal. Everyone's different.
Well,
Yada
I think
yada
there's
yada.
a hard, fast difference between like being anxious in situations and getting depressed here and there, or like thinking that you're fucking seeing angels and they're coming to get you.
Right. But I think that the because it's like fuck guys, like everyone wants to point at things. This is why this is happening. This is motherfucker. People are just not mentally stable anymore.
Oh, absolutely.
They're
not.
just not. And I don't know if it's the chemicals in the water making the fucking frogs gay, or if it's social lunacy, if society has because like here's the thing. We don't know what technology, the impact it has on us. We don't know what social media impact wise, the interconnectivity that we've newly discovered within the last 10 years. We don't know the impact on any of that. You look at Japan and the extremely high like suicide rates. You can't really tie that down to one single thing. So you just don't know how society's going to evolve and the impact, but you can't deny the trend that the reason that people are going and shooting shit up is like there's a perfect example is this guy who made you ever hear about the guy my roommate's asking me how to spell Hokage. 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 I'm gonna become the next Hokage. But basically this guy had a mechanic shop, right? And they wanted to build a road or they built a factory. Yeah. Like that guy, is he crazy?
Absolutely not. He was. I think that what
is
happened
society
to him
crazy?
It's an allegory for society. You know, you have like you're just trying to cut your little slice out.
I mean, I know it's just us, but I still think for the sake of we should still explain what the Killdozer guy was. You can do it if you.
Okay, so this guy, I forget his name. He had a muffler shop or like an auto body.
His name was
repair.
Anon.
His name was Anon. Actually, let me, Jamie, pull that up for me. I got it. Wikipedia Killdozer. He got really popular in the last couple of months.
His name is Marvin Heemeyer.
Okay, I'm at the disambiguation page. Killdozer may refer to Killdozer, a short story, Killdozer, a film, Killdozer, a band, or Killdozer the Bulldozer.
Killdozer the Bulldozer, please.
So Marvin Heemeyer, according to Wikipedia, he was approximately 53. He was a welder and an automobile muffler repair shop owner, most known for his rampage with a modified bulldozer.
And just for the sake of just so there's no bias, I don't like mechanics for the most part. Most interactions I've had with mechanics have been them trying to cheat me.
Oh, dude, believe me, my dad's a mechanic, and he'll tell you up and down how shitty the industry is with fucking retards and grifters.
So it's not like I'm jerking off mechanics and I think mechanics are gods. Like for the most, and I'm not saying all mechanics are bad. I'm just saying I've had a lot of bad experiences with them. And I think that anytime you get an industry, technology is the same way, where you have a large population who doesn't know what the fuck's going on. It's very easy to take advantage of people.
Course,
and it's very difficult to not do that. It's very difficult to not do that.
I think it's funny the idea of the in Warhammer 40,000 you have the tech priests, and I don't know if you're familiar, but the idea is that humanity has lost all of its technological know-how. So
and basically, technology is religious at this point.
Yeah, so these guys like splash oil on fucking supercomputers and slap their dicks against them, hoping they'll work, shit like that. So anyways, back to Killdozer. 1992, Heemeyer purchased 2 acres of land from the Resolution Trust Corporation, the federal agency organized to handle the assets of failed savings and loan institutions. He purchased it for $250,000. He changed his mind, or no, he sold it for $375,000, and originally the price had been $250,000, and then he got fined for various violations, including "quote unquote" junk cars not having a sewer line hookup. And then,
the sewer line hookup was actually they had disconnected his sewer line. So basically, what had happened is they wanted to build a some sort of steel factory in front of his business, his small business. And that would shut off the roadway. They denied him a road. He bought all the equipment to build the road. He said, I'll do it myself. They disconnected his sewer line during the construction and then fined him for not having the sewer line. And he was like, okay, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to tear down every single building that's ever wronged. He didn't kill anyone except for himself.
Yeah, he shot himself before the cops could get to him, I believe.
But that's the thing, is that, you know, what seems like a man pushed to his limit, just pushed beyond anyone's normal limit. You don't think, okay, this guy's just crazy, but at the same time, I think it's multiple interacting causes for what we are seeing within society. You do have a massive increase in the amount of mental instability. I can attest to that for sure. I mean, I've never considered myself to be a very mentally stable person. My roommate can also attest to that. I'm crazy as a shithouse rat. But there are people out there that I'm like, wow, these people are just fucking nuts. Like, I want everyone to live the best life that they can, just because I don't like being hurt. You know what I mean? I don't like being sad. So why would I want someone else to feel that way, kind of thing?
Right.
Like, there's people out here, either by society or due to their own defects. People are just fucking breaking at the seams right now. In large amounts, and we always look to say it's this, okay, it's this, okay, no, it's that, It's like, oh yeah, it's the president. People are being his rhetoric is rallying people up. You know, but like in a normal society where everyone's fully functioning, you know, Donald Trump could be president and he could say, all right, what I need you to do is go out and I need you to start slaughtering people. You know what I mean? And people should hopefully would say, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. That's asinine.
Yeah.
But
that's what about fucking how they're talking about the whole argument of like, oh well, we need to keep our guns. It's like, well, why? It's like, oh, because the government's gonna come, it's gonna take over all of us, and it's gonna, you know, if they really want to, they can. It's like, but we are the citizens. We're too informed. Like that could have happened back in the day, or it could happen in Africa where they have no fucking roads or no electric or no communication between cities and states and all that shit between people. But now, I mean, we're the citizens and we're not going to go and take over each other. I mean, if they fucking AI gets to the part where they could do that shit, or if they fucking threaten nukes and shit, they could do it. But I mean, the whole
But for the most part, the government's just not going to completely disarm its public.
It's
at
too
least
far.
in the United States.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. I'd most definitely agree with that. And that's why I think that's why I think it's a very that cat is not happy.
Yeah, she just meows.
That cat's pissed.
I think we might actually have to leave it off there, but we should do this again.
Most definitely. You want to finish it up real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I was just going to say that I think that's why there's a lot of dangerous rhetoric with saying like, okay, the biggest threats the government taking away our ability to fight back physically, right? But I think what's happening is that society, and I can't say there's some overlying power structure, whether it be the government, the liberals, the conservatives, the Muslims, the Christians, the Jews, etc. I don't know what it is. I couldn't put my finger on it. But I will say that it seems like we've lost our ability to fight back mentally. Not that people are less intelligent, not even that people are less informed. It's that there's such a murkiness of what is truth that even if truth screamed at us in the face, if the government came out with every single thing they've ever done and all the conspiracy theories were right, we've gotten to this point where we've been completely disarmed mentally. We wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't know the process to go to. We would roll over and we would accept it. And I know that for a fact because I am very obstinate when it comes to power. I will most definitely argue with anyone who is 5 times more superior to me in any working environment. But even if the government right now said, hey, you know what I mean? We're just lying to everyone. We've been poisoning the fucking water hole. There's a snake in my boot. Like I wouldn't do anything because I don't know what to do. And I don't know if I don't know if I could do a better job than them. I have a road. There's roads and shit. Yeah, they're not taken care of well, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I can do a better job than you. And we're here. Things are kind of functioning. So I guess I'm just going to play Red Dead. You know? And that's super fucked up, but at the same time, we've just been disarmed, and it's not because of guns.
That's a whole fucking point to leave it at. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm gonna hit you with our next scheduled whatever.
That like button?
Yeah. Don't ever like or comment or subscribe to any channel or video when someone tells you to do that. But next up we have 10 Fortnite players who said the N-word.
Oh, I think we can get that list a lot higher. Let me get on Fortnite. I'm about to add another one.
Oh, man. All right, man. Thanks for coming on. And,
yep, most definitely. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
All right.